TikTok. It's a magical place filled to the brim with bad choreography, boys who look like this for some reason, and the occasional laugh out loud post that makes all of that sludge worth it.
Jason Alexander, what did I tell you about when mommy and daddy are having playtime? Get back to your room now!
At least kind of worth it. But my YouTube friends, did you know that there is a thriving keyboard subculture on TikTok called KeebTok?
Catch you at your crib if you're reading this is too late.
Yes, that is a fan cam of Novel Key Creams. Wow. Keyboard TikTok. You might have actually watched Glars's react to keyboard TikTok and make a few of his own. But a lot of the discord surrounding keyboard TikTok is, well, it's kind of negative. But could it really be so bad? I wanted to dive deep into their world, watch some videos, and even make a board of my own representing what people on TikTok value in a keyboard. I also wanted to know if the hate for keyboard TikTok was valid. Let's jump on TikTok and see what it's all about. Before I jump into it, please subscribe and ring that ring the bell. It helps me out a lot. And join the Discord, links in the description. Hey everybody, I got a glass of grape juice. Cheers. Let's watch some TikToks.
NK cream. I got these lubed, and here's a quick sound test. They're a little scratchy, but I still like them, and I'll probably put them in my keyboard soon.
Don't buy that, buy this instead, keyboard edition.
Oh my god, I wanted to make a video like this. That's genius.
Do not, I repeat, do not get the VK61.
Yeah.
It's not that good, and putting in tangerines or creams won't make it any better.
Yes.
Instead, get this Keyco number 2 on Meg Market for $7,000.
No.
Don't buy that, buy this instead.
No. Ah.
This is the stupidest product to ever exist. This is a—
Oh, we got the PBT Notion. Dude, I want PBT Notion. Oh my god, this is so funny. I've wanted to do stuff like the sound test where I just screw with people. I do love those keycaps though. That's PBT Cherry Notion on Novel Keys.
This is a $200 GMK keycap, and this is a cheap keycap from a cheap keyboard. Let's see how different they sound.
It is not $200 for one keycap, and you know that, and you purposefully phrased it to sound like that one keycap cost $200 just to piss people off on TikTok so that they would comment on your video and that your video would get almost 100,000 likes. Yes, you're a genius, but you're also a jerk for that.
My girlfriend keeps saying her keyboard is broke. She's been writing a lot of reports recently and claims her Q doesn't work. Alright, she wasn't lying. Now, she likes a stiff typing feel and she's going for a botanical
Just fix her keyboard. Just fix the Q.
kit, Durant POM switches, and top all that off with some EPBT Japanese keycaps to fit the theme. Sorted.
Okay.
Good luck on the deadline.
Alright, now that's a good build. That's cool. That looks nice. Wow, that looks so peaceful. I wish my desk setup was that peaceful. Look at that. I need more plants. I think I need more plants.
Expectation versus reality.
I love when the keyboard TikTokers like feather dust everything. It's so funny. I love it. They always include it in the keyboard TikTok videos. I actually have a little bristle brush that I use to wipe all the schmutz off of my keyboard too. I just think it's really cute when it's all like aesthetically like feather dusting in the TikToks.
Versus what turned out to be your actual one.
Oh yeah, because that's gorgeous.
Next.
Look at that. Brush it. Yes. Wow, those are gorgeous. Well. Astrology keycaps. 5 million likes. 5 million likes. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong here on YouTube? It's like, and I work so hard to make content, and it's for what? For what? What is the keyboard that inspired that? I need to know what that feels like. I have to know. Well, that was interesting, and I definitely learned a lot. I'm going to talk some more in depth about my thoughts on keyboard TikTok near the end of the video, but right now I thought it would be really cool to build a keyboard based on everything that I just watched. So if I was going to build a keyboard inspired by keyboard TikTok, this is what I would do. First of all, we needed a keyboard kit. One thing that I noticed about keyboard TikTok is they really like affordable budget boards. Outside of creators like Apiary and Alex Zotos, there seemed to be a lot of boards that were like RK61s, a lot of Gamma Ks, and a lot of Wamier boards. TikTok just loves that uber budget acrylic plastic board. Naturally, that's what I grabbed. This is the Gamma K CK87. I really think that it hits all of the notes that keyboard TikTok loves. It's a tankuless board made of ABS plastic. It's also hot swap. The kit sits at a really nice $75. It's pretty affordable and pretty moddable, but we'll do some mods later. For the switches, I was originally inspired by the most liked video on TikTok that featured banana splits? Banana split switches. This TikTok got almost 5 million likes. The board was a Wamier tankuless board, and they swapped out some blue switches for some banana splits. The colors are super cute, it's food themed, and it just makes sense that this switch would be really popular on TikTok. They have a really special clack to them. Even my friend who is not in the mechanical keyboard hobby was scrolling on TikTok and said that if they would ever get into the hobby, they would absolutely get banana split switches. So clearly this is a very famous switch. But unfortunately, they were really hard to find for a decent price. On the main vendor website that you would buy banana splits, they were out of stock. So you had to go to other vendors, which either had astronomical shipping prices or an upcharge due to the scarcity of these switches, plus their intense popularity. The best I could find at the time were $70 for 70 switches, and I just personally didn't feel like a JWK recolor, even though it is slightly more unique with different housing materials and slightly different molds. Personally, I just could not justify $1 per banana split. While I could have found a JWK recolor like alpacas, for example, I decided to hit up TikTok for some alternative switches.
I lubed and filmed some NK creams, and they sound amazing.
They sound fine, TikTok. Everyone chill. They don't sound that good. All right. If you insist. If you insist.
Unexpected like a mixtape, catch you at your crib. If you're reading this, is too late.
Wow. A fan cam. A fan cam about novelty creams. I have to use these for the TikTok keyboard, don't I? Luckily, I have them on hand. Specifically, what you would call whipped creams, which means that they are not only lubed and filmed, but also were broken in before I lubed and filmed them. As good as a novelty cream can get, and frankly, in my opinion, I think they still feel really leathery and unpleasant to type on. I'm personally known on YouTube for slandering novelty creams at any chance that I get. Admittedly, of course, there were a lot of TikToks about how creams were scratchy and definitely needed to be lubed and everything, but there were more than enough videos glorifying the experience of buying novelty creams, so we're gonna use them. And of course, the keycaps. Now, I saw these astrology keycaps all over TikTok while I was browsing. In fact, the 5 million like TikTok about keyboards also used these keycaps. So, the astrology keycaps. These things are XDA profile, made out of PBT material, and frankly, are incredibly cute. I got some cheap clones off of AliExpress, and I realized that they seem to have a duller color than the real Astrala keys, and they also don't really sound as good as I would hope that they sound. And the cherry on top, the Dookie Sunday. Spacebar was warped, and there was only one included of that size in the kit that I bought. So nice. Don't buy clones. If you have the budget and you need these keycaps, definitely get the official ones. All right, guys, so now that we have all the parts, let's build this thing. The nice thing about the CK87 is that you can really just pop whatever switches and keycaps in that you need and get going. The thing's basically already built when you get it out of the box. I decided I would start by doing absolutely no modding just to see how this board does stock. And also kind of in theme with the TikTok thing, because I saw a lot of people literally just changing out switches and not really doing any mods, so I guess it's appropriate. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, I had to make an entire TikTok about how mid this thing sounds. It just sounds so average and cheap and hollow. I wasn't expecting hollow since it's a plastic board. And I think that's okay because it's a really cheap configuration outside of the novelty creams. I think I paid $75 for the CK87 and the astrology keycaps were like $25. So not the most expensive thing in the world. But that doesn't mean that we can't mod it and make it sound absolutely amazing. If you thought for a second that I was gonna let some mid keyboards sit on my shelf and do nothing about it, you were dead wrong. Let's mod this freaking thing. I started by taking the whole thing apart. It was actually difficult since the entire top case wraps around the whole board, and it takes some effort to get it free. I took it apart by taking off all the switches and keycaps, unscrewing whichever screws I could find, and pushing the top free from the rest of the board. Don't be afraid to really put some oomph into it because it was pretty difficult to get off. With the board apart, I'm now going to throw everything that I have into it. I started by filling as much of the bottom of the case as I could with Noiko car sound dampener. Cut the pieces to size and peel off the paper sticker and stick it down to the case. It does a really great job at getting rid of a lot of the hollowness, and it also adds some great weight to your board since it's such a dense material. I also did tape mod, and of course you guys know the drill. I usually do 2 layers of tape mod on the back of the PCB, and it really helps even out the sound profile throughout the board as well as reverberate a lot of the sound back up at you when you type. So it makes it sound really poppy typically. And for fun, I thought, why not do the good old PE foam mod? I know a lot of people have left this one in the past, but I'm bringing it back for this board because honestly it needs it. It's actually been a little while since I did PE foam mod. Also, the stabilizers are plate mount. In general, I think that plate mounted stabilizers are completely underrated. I think they are over slandered, in fact. A lot of people hate plate mount stabilizers, but I've found that I can make them sound and feel like amazing, especially the cheap ones with a little bit of elbow grease. By elbow grease, I mean Krytox 205 grade 0 on the housings of the stabilizer and dielectric grease on the wire and inside the housing where the wire sits. The main trick to plate mounted stabilizers is the Band-Aid mod on the plate itself. All you're gonna do is cut little pieces of Band-Aid, put them kind of where the stabilizer sits around the plate. It's gonna hold those housings in place super tight so they can't rattle around. I also did a round or two of testing for ticking to make sure that the stabilizers sound good. Unfortunately, with these clip-in stabilizers, you can't plug the butt because there is actually plastic in the way where you would normally plug the butt. So unfortunately, I had to take the board apart a few times and fix the stabilizers and then put it back together. Eventually, I got rid of all the ticking. Side note, the warp spacebar just wasn't gonna do and I didn't feel like boiling it and fixing it myself. I took out my trusty dusty Akko ASA white on black keycaps, which actually come with a white spacebar. Since they're ASA profile, they won't fit in with the XDA, but they actually did because I just flipped my spacebar anyway, and it color matches pretty well, and it sounds way better. Once the stabilizers were ready, it was time to put the whole board together. But look, I have an entire video on my channel slandering novelty creams. There was no way I was gonna settle with these switches. I needed to find something similar enough to the creams that was way better. They needed to have that food related cutesy name, that like muted color palette. They had to have long pole palm stems, and they had to be smoother, preferably not a pain in my butt. Invokee's matcha lattes. They're perfect. I mean, first off, this is the exact switch that TikTok would love, and it's also actually a good switch. Manufactured by Aphelion, these switches are long pull linears. They have a palm stem and come factory lube. Then Invokee's hand checks each switch to make sure that the factory lube is consistent across your batch. And when I first tried them out, I was shocked at how much these felt like hand lubed switches. I have never experienced a factory lube job that was this sufficient. On top of that, not only are they food themed, but they also came in really cute packaging, which TikTok loves. Yep, this was it, and I actually like these switches. If you like long pulls and you really don't want to lube, you are gonna pay a slight premium, but I do think that these switches are worth it. So I put them in, put the astrology keycaps on top. We were finally ready to go. Go give it a listen. To me, it almost sounds like wood blocks banging against each other in like a good way. It's super interesting, super thocky, but it also is really fantastic to type on due to those long pull stems and the smoothness of the matcha lattes. Let's wrap up our findings. Number 1. Quick review of the Gamma K kit. I think that this was actually really nice for the price, specifically after mods. The stock configuration to me was incredibly hollow sounding and a little cheap sounding, but with some elbow grease, it sounds great. It's also Bluetooth with the option of using a little dongle as needed. The aesthetics of the board are what you would expect, with the exception that I do like that this isn't a floating keycap design. And I think with the right keycap set, this can look really nice, especially for the $75 price tag. My second finding was that the keyboard community on TikTok seems to have like different values in what they like in a keyboard. They really value budget kits, the overall aesthetic of things like keycap sets, novelties, and artisans. They love a good unboxing experience and lean towards cuter aesthetics. They have way less of an emphasis on modding and sound signature, which makes sense because not everyone is using headphones when browsing TikTok. Also, because it's such short form content, it really lends itself better to the aesthetics as well as unboxings. I see people typically spending more money on keycaps, artisans, and switches than they will on keyboard kits themselves, opting for more cheaper acrylic boards and budget staples instead of group buy boards that start to get really expensive. Also, what would TikTok be without colorful LEDs in the background of an aesthetic desk setup? Of course, these are all generalizations based on what I saw when browsing keyboard TikTok, and there are obvious outliers to what I mentioned on all platforms. I guess what I really learned today is that it's not fair to judge keyboard TikTok based on what they value in a keyboard, and that everyone in all different platforms are going to value different things depending on the type of content that they like to watch. It's not fair to critique the keyboard community on TikTok based on our own values for what we like in a keyboard on YouTube and other platforms. They like what they like, and frankly, I find that there are a lot of boards on YouTube that lack the aesthetic flair that the TikTokers have nailed. We don't care nearly as much for artisans and often opt for black on white keycaps. I'm definitely guilty of this, which is totally fine. That's all preference, but it's fun to indulge a little bit in these cutesy aesthetics. To put some statistical data to my findings, I actually ran a poll a few months ago on YouTube asking, would you rather have a good board, good keycaps and bad switches, good board, bad keycaps, good switches, or a bad board, good keycaps, good switches? And the winner of this YouTube poll was good board, bad keycaps, but good switches at 76%. Meaning that if one thing had to go bad, they would want the keycaps to be a little bit weaker than the rest of the board, which is really interesting. And I feel like if I polled the TikTok community on this, the numbers would definitely be different. Aside from what keyboard TikTokers value in terms of the board themselves, I want to talk a little bit about the content. I see a lot of anger toward what could be considered low effort content on TikTok getting lots of views and likes. To me, I think that's fine because now that I've started posting on TikTok, I've found that it isn't very easy to just make a viral keyboard TikTok. Bringing the YouTube flair to TikTok hasn't garnered the most views compared to what traditionally works on there. Creators were able to see what really goes viral on that platform based on what those users want to see, and they do a fantastic job of capturing that audience with numbers I could only dream of on YouTube. And in that way, I've gained a ton of respect for the keyboard TikTokers who have figured out how to go viral there. They've just got the secret sauce. I hope that shed a new light on our keyb enthusiast cousins all the way over on the thock, and huge reminder to be respectful to everyone in this community, regardless of their preferences, of where they make their content, how they make their content. Let's just not judge others. I don't feel like that's too much to ask, right? Too much to ask, I know, but just a reminder. Recognize that almost everything in this hobby is opinion-based, and that tastes vary widely, not just between platforms, but from enthusiast to enthusiast. There is so much to learn from everyone obsessed with mechanical keyboards, and never forget that we all have more in common in this little niche hobby than we care to admit. And with that, I have a few little announcements you can stick around for if you like. If not, see ya. First off, happy Pride. I just wanted to advertise my Discord channel as a place for all LGBT people who love keyboards to hang out, without any fear of judgment or bigotry. I have incredibly rigid rules against hate and discrimination on my server, as well as pronoun roles that you can use. I've had many comments about how fellow gays in the community have tended to congregate on my server, and I think it's really cool. It just has become a place that everyone's accidentally just gathered at. Us gays have a way of doing that, don't we? And I think that healthy, diverse places in the keyboard community are incredibly important. So please, if this sounds enticing at all, come join us. Another announcement is that I'm officially announcing my subscriber goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of summer, which is technically September 22nd, 2022. If you haven't subscribed yet and rang that bell, please, please, please consider it. I've also considered starting a Patreon. I would love to know what you guys would want to see if I ever did that. Patreon money would specifically go toward more keyboard parts to make videos about, and of course better equipment so I can make nicer videos. Also, wow, I hit 3,000 subscribers recently. This is honestly insane. I think I started like consistently uploading in December. To think that it's only been around like 6 months and I've gained 3,000 people watching me is like, oh my god, it's like crazy. Thank you guys so much for that. Hopefully I can get 7,000 more by the end of September. And lastly, I have so much amazing content planned for this channel. Keyboard building challenges with fellow YouTubers, new prototype switches that haven't even hit the market yet, live streams, giveaways planned. Get comfy here because we're gonna have a fun summer together. And as always, don't be a stranger.